15-year-old girl, a 15-year-old girl, sexual assault had been committed against Chessie Prout. And we have members of this committee who ask everybody that comes before us, have you committed sexual harassment? Have you committed sexual assault? But yet they're willing to vote for a judge who used hardball tactics.
Thank you, Senator
Mr.
Cotton.
Chairman.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that you have removed Michael Delaney from the roster for a vote today. And as we talk about people that are unfit for public service, Michael Delaney is one of those individuals. And as we reviewed his record when he came before this committee, we brought forward, and he did not deny, his use of hardball tactics against a 15-year-old girl, a 15-year-old girl. Sexual assault had been committed against Chessie Prout. And we have members of this committee who ask everybody that comes before us, have you committed sexual harassment? Have you committed sexual assault? But yet they're willing to vote for a judge who used hardball tactics against a girl to cover up that a private elite school was guilty of pushing and participating in removing anonymity from a student at that school and making certain that people are fit for the bench, that they are fit for public office is something that we should do. And there is hypocrisy in supporting such a person for the bench. There is hypocrisy in some of these nominations and these votes. And I appreciate that he was removed from consideration today.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Graham.
Thank you. Thank you.
The moment arrives quietly, but the tone changes instantly. Senator Marsha Blackburn leans forward, her voice steady, her cadence deliberate, her words sharpened by conviction. Michael Delaney, she says, is unfit for public service. The hearing room stills, the air thickens, and in those few seconds, political debate turns personal, moral, and unmistakably raw. She is not reading from notes now. She is speaking from memory, from the record of a case that has haunted the committee and the nation's conscience. A 15-year-old girl, a sexual assault, an elite school, and a legal strategy that Blackburn calls hardball tactics against a child. Her indictment is not just of a nominee, but of a system, of a culture inside power that rewards those who protect the powerful and punishes those who dare to speak. Her voice cuts through the procedural calm of the Judiciary Committee. A 15-year-old girl, she repeats. The repetition lands like a drumbeat of accusation, the weight of a truth too many have tried to muffle. She describes how Delaney, as counsel for the school, fought to strip anonymity from that teenage survivor, to force her name into the public record, to expose her to the glare of scrutiny, to make her the target instead of the victim. In that instant, Blackburn's tone becomes less political and more prosecutorial. The usual partisan choreography dissolves. Her focus is on decency, on what kind of person, what kind of lawyer, what kind of man does that to a child? And then she widens her aim. She turns her attention to the committee itself, to her colleagues. She does not name Senator Mazie Hirono directly at first, but everyone in the chamber feels the direction of the words. We have members of this committee, she says, who ask every nominee if they have ever committed sexual harassment or assault. Her voice tightens. And yet, they're willing to vote for a judge who used hardball tactics against a girl to cover up for an elite institution. There it is, the collision of morality and hypocrisy that defines so much of modern politics. The senator is not just calling out a man, she is calling out a contradiction. She is saying, you cannot claim to champion women while excusing those who intimidate them. She is saying, you cannot wave the banner of Join Me Too and then look away when the victim is inconvenient. The silence that follows is not polite, it is defensive. It is the kind of silence that tells you someone in power has just been confronted with a truth they'd rather not hear. Blackburn's tone never wavers. "There is hypocrisy," she says again, slower this time, each syllable deliberate. "There is hypocrisy in these nominations and these votes." The words are surgical, the target unmistakable. Across the dais, Senator Hirono, known for her fierce questioning of nominees accused of misconduct, listens, the camera catching only a fleeting glance, unreadable but heavy with implication. The scene is striking not because it's loud, but because it's exact. This isn't bluster, it's a moral rebuke disguised as a procedural statement. Blackburn doesn't need to shout, the facts do the shouting for her. Michael Delaney's nomination had already faced waves of outrage. Parents, survivors, advocacy groups, all had voiced horror at his treatment of Chessie Prout, the teenage victim of assault at St. Paul's School in New Hampshire. His critics said he chose to protect the institution rather than the child. His defenders said he was just doing his job as an attorney. But Blackburn isn't talking about job descriptions. She's talking about judgment, the kind that reveals a person's character long before they ever wear the black robe of a judge. When she thanks the chairman for removing Delaney from consideration, it feels less like gratitude and more like a demand finally met. Because beneath her composure is the unmistakable moral calculus of accountability, the belief that certain acts should permanently disqualify a person from power, that some choices stain the conscience too deeply to be scrubbed away by time, title, or party loyalty. This hearing, like so many before it, will be clipped and shared, dissected and spun. Commentators will argue over tone, over timing, over whether this was politics or principle. But to anyone listening closely, something simpler happened here. A senator looked across the table at her peers and asked them to be consistent, to remember the promises they made to survivors, to victims, to justice itself. And she did it in a place where moral courage too often goes to die. There are few things more uncomfortable in Washington than hypocrisy made visible. And that's what Blackburn did. She forced it into the light. She reminded everyone watching that power is not just about votes and policy, but about the moral credibility of those who wield it. She reminded them that justice for the vulnerable cannot depend on who occupies the witness chair or which party controls the gavel. Her words, calm, deliberate, unyielding, re-centered the conversation around one simple question. Who do we stand with? The survivor or the system? The powerful or the powerless? And in that moment, the partisan lines blurred. What was left was a deeper reckoning, one that transcends party and pierces the heart of public trust. Because every time a victim's voice is drowned out by procedure, the American promise of justice grows smaller. As the hearing concludes, the gavel falls softly. But Blackburn's statement lingers. It echoes through the corridors of the Senate, through the headlines, through the conscience of anyone who has ever wondered whether integrity still has a place in politics. This wasn't grandstanding. It was a reminder that every name, every nomination, every decision made in that chamber carries the weight of real lives. That moral clarity is not a partisan trait, but a public duty. And as the room empties, one truth remains. Justice demands consistency. Compassion demands courage. And accountability demands that we confront hypocrisy wherever it hides, even when it hides behind a colleague's smile. This is the work of democracy, uncomfortable, imperfect, but necessary. You're watching Liberal Freedom. If you believe that truth must always confront power, subscribe, share, and stand with us. Because only when we hold the powerful to their own words do we begin to build a country worthy of its promises.